Hey guys, welcome back to Chapter in Ash. I am Ash and I'm thrilled to have you here. We're talking about more horror books, guys, because I love me some dark, twisted horror. Now, that being said, not every book on this list is going to be dark and twisted. I think the only criteria that I'm looking for, forget the genre, forget even books, anything that I consume, whether it's music, whether it's books, whether it's TV, movies, I just want to be moved. I want to remember the book in this case. And all of these entries, these 7 books in the horror genre, little historical fiction mixed in there too, really stuck with me. I think you guys are going to enjoy hopefully at least one of these books. If you do end up picking out any of these books to read, hey, let me know about it in the comments below. And if you have a recommendation for me, let me know about that as well. Now, I covered some of my other favorite horror books already here on the channel, so I'll drop a link to that video as well for you guys if you want to check that one out at the end of this one. So, okay, without further ado, let's jump into the list here, starting at number 7. Number 7 is The Fisherman by John Langan. This is written in 2016. This is about 2 grieving widowers, 2 dudes who, again, facing personal tragedy, the loss of their wives. They decide to bond on this fishing trip. Now, I am not a fisherman, personally, although my dad did take me when I was a little kid, but it did not follow me into adulthood. So I wasn't sure picking up this book, honestly, if it would be my jam, my proverbial cup of tea. But it's not teaching you fly casting. No worries, right? There's no angling club submission form application at the end of this book. It's just the backdrop, obviously, the fishing. So it's about these 2 widowers again, and they decide to kind of, again, I guess, bond over on this trip, kind of dealing with their devastation, right? Dealing with their grief. And they hear rumors about this creek that has these supernatural properties and also tied to this kind of ancient lore in tragedy as well. And they decide to investigate it as well, right? So this novel is very interesting. It reads like folklore, right? It reads like classic storytelling, you know, the prose, it's an easy read. It's rich though, you know, there's definitely a literary emphasis on this book. I wouldn't call it the easiest, but it's not a hard read by any stretch of the imagination either. But it's kind of like layered narratives, kind of like oral tradition type vibe to it. Don't let that turn you off too much though, if that's not your jam, because it's not usually my jam, but it stuck with me. There's a reason it made the list, right? It starts as kind of like this grief, this very realistic grief, nothing supernatural about it. And then the book evolves as you progress with elements of kind of cosmic horror, something very deep and dark. And again, on a cosmic scale that in some ways it kind of, I don't want to say it mitigates, but in some ways it puts their grief in context of this massive cosmic horror and grief and these ancient kind of this folklore that surrounds this creek. So without any spoilers, I guess that's the best I can do. But either way, this one, I think it feels mythic, but it also feels deeply personal and emotional. That's why I loved it. That's The Fisherman coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Monstrillo by Geraldo Simano Cardova. I'm glad I got that right. Written in 2023. I believe this is his debut novel, this author. And he described the novel as a monster story told within a grieving family. This one was really good. I didn't think it was going to be my jam. I got like very light. I don't want to make this comparison and then regret it in the comments, but kind of metamorphosis kind of vibes to it, because it's about a death of a young boy. And then the family basically cuts off a piece of his lung. And that lung, that tissue, starts to grow and grow into something that's kind of half human, half monster, okay? But really, the crux of the story isn't that. That's kind of well, obviously that is the story, but the deeper meaning of the story is as the family starts raising him in secret, they start to have connections, obviously, with this monster. And it starts to blend love, themes of love and family and grief and denial, all together in a very beautiful way, in a way that reads very well. It's almost a lyrical prose to this book. It's got kind of a tender touch to it, even though it's horrific as well. It's a very unique blend, and I loved the writing style here. It's emotional horror that hits way harder, for me at least, than physical horror, right? So basically, what is this family? How do they evolve with this Monstrilio, with this monster that they've essentially created, and how do they reconcile that with the memory of their son, their original son as well? It's a very interesting psychological horror, in my opinion, and that is Monstrilio, coming in at number 6. Coming in number 5 is The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. Written in 1971. Listen, I had to have an obvious one there. I included Frankenstein on my original horror list, and I'm going to include The Exorcist here because this was a good read. I am not a huge fan of the movie. I know, don't skewer me too hard in the comments, but I thought it was good, but not one of my favorite horror films of all time. But the book I did enjoy quite a bit more than the movie. That tends to be the case with me. Probably the same with some of you guys as well, not just with The Exorcist, but just in general.
Look, your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
So The Exorcist was actually inspired by real-life events. I think it says that at the beginning of the movie, right? But many scenes were from were based on journals of real priest diary entries in 1949, the exorcism that this was based on. This deals with, well, possession, blasphemy, and everything surrounding, right? You guys are probably familiar with the story, but basically a little girl, Regan, develops these terrifying behaviors, right? And all doctors are absolutely baffled by it, and it devastates her mother. So basically, as everything escalates, they call in a priest who is going through his own crisis of faith, and these two circumstances kind of combine into, medicine. It starts with kind of regular benign medicine that we're used to, and then it molds into psychology, psychological horror, spirituality. All of these themes are felt in a very, very big way. And this book, in terms of the writing style, it starts out very clinical, and I wasn't a fan. So kind of a warning to you guys out there, or maybe a heads up, you might not like the first few chapters, but I feel like the clinical style of the writing on this book, it actually starts to pay off towards the end of the book, where you get all the supernatural moments in the back half of the book. And to me, they hit a lot harder with that writing style. So stick with it, and I think you're going to love The Exorcist. It comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is my most recent read, and that's The Buffalo Hunter. That's right, 2 hunters on this one, by Stephen Graham Jones. And this was written this year at the time of this recording in 2025. This was obviously, I guess, my most recent read on this entire list as well. This is really good. It's about a Native American. This is historical fiction, by the way, mixed with, embellished in some horror style ways as well. It's very unique. It's about a Native American named Goodstab, who basically he's in Montana, and it starts out where he finds this journal describing a massacre that took place a long time ago. And the massacre happened in real life. Again, it's the Marias massacre. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So basically, he starts to, as the novel progresses, he starts to have some sort of a psychological unraveling, and you, as the reader, you're along for the ride. It's really, really good. He doesn't know, by the end of the novel, he doesn't even know what he can trust. Like, he doesn't know if he can trust his own thoughts. So it's very, very interesting. It deals with mental illness, obviously, dissociation, identity crisis, and the likes. But I found this really interesting how it was written. The sentences start to kind of spiral, and I guess that the prose of the book starts to kind of, I don't want to say deteriorate, but it mimics, or at least it mirrors, the protagonist as well. It was a really interesting book. I liked it. He described, Jones, the author, described this book as reclusive psychological descent, deliberately shaped to feel like a dream that you just can't wake up from. Very interesting. There's some looping in the writing style as well. Overall, though, it's a disturbing book. It's definitely not graphic, which is cool. So if you're not into graphic stuff, but you want something still disturbing on an emotional, a psychological level, The Buffalo Hunter might be for you. This one got really good reviews everywhere that I looked as well, so it seems like a lot of people really, really dig this one. That's The Buffalo Hunter, coming in at number 4. Coming in number 3 is The Troop by Nick Cutter, written in 2014. This is a really, really good one, guys. I included The Ruins, and a lot of comments about The Ruins on my first horror recommendation list. And this one, I think if you like The Ruins, you're going to like The Troop. They're not the same, but I felt like the writing style is fairly similar, meaning short chapters, like straight to the point, but really, really almost cinematic pacing. Fast, 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 fast. A lot of action, brutal descriptions, relentless tension throughout this book, right? It's about a Boy Scout troop that goes to this remote island, and they encounter kind of this I guess like this emaciated individual, this man who has an engineered parasite in him, right? So the infection, it spreads, a little kind of Lord of the Flies vibe going on here a little bit. You guys can tell from the overall description so far. But basically, these boys all get forced into these violent outbursts, these survival mode, desperation, right? Permeates the entire novel. And the island basically just becomes both a biological and, I guess, a sociological nightmare for everybody. All the moral boundaries collapse for all the boys, and it becomes a mix of, well, there's definitely some body horror, so a mix of body horror and also the psychological breakdown of these boys. Sounds dark and disturbing? Great, that's exactly what it is. If you're into that, this book is for you. This one was endorsed by Stephen King. I feel like every book is, but I think that he's called this one of his favorite horror books of all time or something like that. So it's really good. A lot of starvation, animal death, like I said, body horror in this one. There's trigger warnings, but I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. That's The Troop coming in at number 3. Number 2 is Hell House by Richard Matheson, written in 1971. So you guys know I Am Legend is one of my favorite books out there in horror, and obviously same author here. And Hell House is really, really fun. I loved it, but I will say, out of all the books that I'm listing today, this is the one with the worst reviews. So I just figured I'd say you might not like it. But I'll tell you a little bit about why the reviews were bad, and you'll understand, if you know anything about me or seen my previous videos here, why I disagree respectfully. So it's about these investigators. They're hired by this dying man who wants to understand what happens after he dies, basically, to go into the most haunted structure in the world, this old haunted house. So this is an interesting kind of plot here, or setting, I will say both, right? So the house basically starts to manipulate the team psychologically. It reminds me in some ways of like the movie, I'm not even sure if it's a book, but Solaris, where everybody starts to go insane, basically. Psychological, and all of their weaknesses basically are exploited, are pinpointed and then exploited. So what ends up happening is, in this house is this haunting escalation, both figuratively and literally, where all the investigators start to blur the lines between reality, supernatural influence, and just total breakdowns. They also, and this is one of the reasons people really don't like this book, is there's a lot of, how do I say this, sexual manipulation, right? There's a lot of sex acts, right? A lot of them, and they're very random, but it all falls into the psychological manipulation that's happening throughout the course of their stay at this house, right? People don't really care for it. It seems random to a lot of readers, but me, I like the grit, I like the sex, I like the death, I like killing off the main characters, I like edgy in my reading. I want something to really keep me focused. So that's just me, but it might not be for you. There's a lot of sexual content in this book. There's violence, there's possession, stuff like that, psychological trauma, torment, all the whole nine, right? Matheson wrote it to be the ultimate haunted house novel. And for me, it really is. That is Hell House coming in at number 2. Coming in at number 1 is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, written in 2016. This didn't have the best reviews out of every book, not as bad as Hell House, but for me, this one just did it for me. I never reread books. I think I've read Pillars of the Earth twice, or I listened to it once and I read it again. But I think that's it. I'm not a rereader, but I really want to reread this one. It was really good. It's about a girl, a young woman, who goes to meet her boyfriend's parents for the very first time. Okay, this road trip, right? And something about the trip, though, from the very start, even the writing style, feels very off. There's this eerie kind of suspense that just builds and builds and builds throughout the novel. There's reality kind of glitches and things. You always feel like things aren't as they seem. You have the inner monologue of the protagonist as well, and it feels disjointed. It feels like something's off. It feels scary in a very, very subtle way, and I like that. Her growing paranoia, though, it starts to build and build and build to this, basically this psychosis or surreal, total unraveling, right? Where you start to question absolutely everything happening in the novel. And I should put this in you find out this pretty early on. It's not a spoiler, but like, even though she's meeting her boyfriend's parents and family for the very first time, she's still not even sure about the relationship, right? Like, she thinks, even though she's taking this serious step, and I think we've all been there, right? That you're just like, okay, I'm going to meet the parents, but is she the one? You know, or in this case, is he really the one? You know? So it has like the relationship backdrop as well, which is really interesting. So I'm thinking of Ending Things, the title, actually has a few different meanings in this novel. It's unsettling. It's got a good rhythm to it. It's a page turner. It's an easy read. I haven't seen the film adaptation, but there's a Charlie Kaufman adaptation, I believe, as well. And I think it dials in the surrealism even higher, right? I haven't seen it, but I want to. Either way, guys, this is a very, very good story. For whatever reason, I mean, I don't want to give you anything else. It deals with, obviously, mental illness and suicide ideation as well. Total, absolute psychosis. But it's just got a good vibe to it. I mean, not a bad vibe, but it starts out like, okay, going to meet the parents. And then just everything unravels. And I really, really loved it. I think you guys will as well. I'm thinking of Ending Things at number 1. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the continued support here on the channel. I really love talking about all these books, and whether you agree or disagree with me, it's a real pleasure to have this channel and just to have an outlet to share some of the things that I've been reading with you guys, because frankly, not a lot of my friends read a lot in real life, so this has been a really fun endeavor for me as well. Guys, we're going to end it there. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.